of Chinese gold. They're very soft, 24-karat gold, beautiful. Well, anyway, John Barr from Vienna, this friend of Andy's, and his wife came to the hotel and visited us. Andy had been seeing them in Yokohama and so on. And we planned the next day to have a fine time in Tokyo and go out in the evening. And this girl named Jean Lavender, who was an English girl, a woman about, I'd say 45-ish, warm, energetic. She works for the Shell Oil Company. She said she'd love to babysit for us. She's one of, from home in England, one of Pat Barr's good friends. So anyway, we got up very, very early and took what is probably the most terrifying ride in the world, and that is with a Japanese taxi driver. You've heard the stories of the Paris drivers. They cannot compare with those Japs. You careen, and finally, of course, speaking no English at all in Tokyo, finally I just screamed bloody murder and said, "Stop driving the car away!" And he just turned around and smiled. And it's worse when you talk to them, you see, because if you talk to them, they're likely to turn around and drive. They keep on going about 70 miles an hour, careening down the Ginza, which is the big Broadway main street of Tokyo, while you turn smiling. Yes, missy, you know. And so you just sit back and endure it. When we took a tour of the city, our hotel was right opposite the Imperial Palace grounds, the large moat, and the grass that's cut by human hands only, not by lawnmower, and the beautiful gate over the moat, and quite beautiful. And we went then to see downtown Tokyo. We got out, took the kids, of course, with us, and went down to the Ginza, the big shopping district. Tokyo, of course, being the third largest city in the world, having a population larger, I believe, than New York City, with all the 5 boroughs. It's an enormous, enormous place with masses of people. And the stores are quite good, and everything is Americanized. My only thought here was America really did win the war here, because it's everything. Rarely you see the kimono, and it's only used by the Japanese women, and the older men wear it, and the older women. But it's rarely used except for formal occasions, weddings, wakes, fancy balls, that kind of thing, you know, and for going out in the evening. But mostly American clothes, and they're extremely beautiful. The Japanese women, and some of the nicest people I've ever met. But the men are stinkers, plain out-and-out stinkers. They're gross and sullen, and entirely, I hated them. I didn't like Tokyo as a city. It's a gray, dirty city. And I didn't like the men, but the women were charming. And the little girls, you could eat them. They're so sweet. We went to, on this tour of the city, we went first to the Imperial Hotel, which, as you know, was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright in 1906. One of his first buildings. He was a very young architect. And that was one of 2 or 3 main buildings in Tokyo that withstood the terrible earthquake in the 30s. And it's something to see. It's a fantastic building. One of Wright's really fantastic jobs. Has a wonderful arcade, full of marvelous shops with beautiful silks and pearls and diamonds and emeralds. And really, I mean, compared to anything we'd pay for in the States, cheap. But of course you can't buy them if you haven't got the money. It's tempting as the devil. Then we went to Tokyo Tower, which is like the Eiffel Tower, only it's much higher. And we went up halfway to a platform all enclosed, very super deluxe, and took the kids up, and the kids loved it all, you know. And we were followed around by a whole gang of Japanese schoolgirls, because going up in the elevator, I looked around, and they just giggle all the time, and just look at you with these big brown eyes, and giggle away. And I went, wee, here we go, and because it sent them into wild gales of hysteria in this elevator, and they followed us all over the place. And finally, the ringleader of the group obviously got enough courage, and she said, hello, and of course, great wild giggles. And so we got into great conversation with them, and they do know English. I mean, they've studied it in school, the little ones, and their faces seem to me to be the hope of Japan. I've heard some discouraging things from people about here who live through the horrors of the Japanese occupation and so on, who don't believe in it, you know. But these kids have such wonderful faces. Well, anyway, that evening when Jean Lavender came, at 5 o'clock, we went to one of the high moments of the trip yet for me, and that was to the Kabuki-za, the Grand Kabuki, which is probably the most fabulous stage in the world. The theater itself is the Kabuki-za, meaning the Grand Kabuki Theater, that is the original company. They're the great repertory company. They do 18 plays in repertory in season, 3 months in season.